And we're live. So welcome everyone to the first episode of the Ant King Frequency. You're talking to myself, Antonio Sancholo, and on the other end of the line we've got...
Larry King. King Larry from the land of America.
Those United States. I, of course, will be transmitting to you from sunny Melbourne, Australia. And whereabouts in those states that are united are you hailing from, Larry?
As some people call it North Kakalaki, but I call it North Carolina, and it's kind of dreary. The sun is setting, and it was like a high of like 60 some odd degrees today, so warmer than it has been, but still not the sunny, the sunny land you come from right now. So,
right. Well, as you can hear, this is the podcast that hugs the world. It's nice, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Very sweet, tender.
So, in the spirit of unity and togetherness, I'd like to propose to you, Larry, fight to the death, the Mandarin versus Bane. Who wins?
Now, which Bane? Now, here's the thing. That's the thing. Which Mandarin, which Bane? Now, that's the thing about nerds and anything like that, comic nerds, what have you.
Okay.
You need those specifics.
I knew you'd need this clarification. I've been sitting on this all week, and I've been dying to ask you this. So where this actually came from in my brain was two most disappointing movie villains in a fight to the death. So I think let's discuss at least their cinematic entities, their mainstream movie entities first. Most recent, of course, for each. And we'll take it from there. Maybe if we telegraph the rest of the show, I'd like to discuss most recent cinematic interpretations. Their OP representation. So they're overpowered or at their strongest, who would win. And then I'd also like to discuss completely depowered, who would win. So let's start with the movies. Let's go.
All right, so we got Mandarin, which basically is Trevor Slattery, played by Ben Kingsley in Iron Man 3. And he's basically this Osama bin Laden, he's warlord, multi-ethnic. You don't know exactly where he's coming from until he's right on top of you. Or something similar to that, where he does not have any 10 rings of power, but he turns out to be a puppet who likes soccer and likes, snorting coke, getting drunk, and, screwing around with strippers. And also a puppet to Aldrich Killian, played by Guy Pearce, who has flame powers and everything like that because of extremists. But this is where I do the but. If you watch the Marvel one-shot, All Hail to the King, turns out the Mandarin does exist because he kidnaps... he uses one of his agents from the Ten Rings to kidnap Trevor Slattery, a.k.a. the fake Mandarin, as a plot to basically take back his name and, to give himself some cred because his name has been dragged all over the coals by Killian and Slattery. So technically Mandarin does exist. He just probably the 10 ring 10 alien power ring Mandarin does exist. Maybe, but we have not seen him show up since the All Hail the King Marvel one-shot.
Right.
Okay, there you go. That's mine. My interpretation of the Mandarin. Am I close to how you feel?
Yeah. I think you're fairly accurate. Now, what does he have in let's say the realm of influence, powers, abilities, anything there?
Okay. Well, you have. There's 10 rings, and I don't remember every single power out of the 10 rings.
No. I mean, just from the cinematic Mandarin.
Oh, just the cinematic. Oh, okay. Okay, so far, we're talking even if we're talking the Mandarin that has not been seen,
Okay,
a true Mandarin.
I think I want to take a step back from that, and I want to talk about Mandarin as Trevor being manipulated by Killian. Because there also is the conjecture in 3, not in the spinner or not in the Hail to the King. No, what was it called?
I think it's All Hail the King, the Marvel one shot. Is
Anyway,
that Marvel one shots they do?
Yeah, not tying into that. There is the allegation in Iron Man 3 that Trevor Killian is the real Mandarin. That might just be him metaphorically saying he's the one in charge. But out of their sphere of influence and power, what do they have?
Okay, you have an army of extremist super soldiers.
Great.
You have unlimited, pretty much, resources when it comes to, you got AIM on your side, which is advanced idea mechanics, which also you're basically the comics are the beekeepers.
Yep.
They're these yellow jumpsuits with the beehive hats, right?
Yeah, I know the guys.
Yeah, and so you also have military resources. You're talking helicopters, tanks, guns. Not only to mention the extremist super soldiers, which have super strength, apparently ability to fly, burn things with like flame jets coming out of their hands. I think they can do they have a wide range of superpowers. Also, they can explode like a small thermonuclear bomb.
Yep.
And they have a connection all over the world, stretching from Afghanistan to Southeastern Asia, the United States. They can even attack the president's plane, Air Force One. So you're dealing with a wide network of determined and even, fanatical, you could say, because a lot of these are soldiers that lost limbs, so you won't have brain trauma, and they don't want to lose their limbs because they take extremists away. Bye-bye, your limb that's been regrown because no more extremists, no more limb, because they were lost in combat. So you're going to have people that highly trained, highly motivated to do the bidding of quote unquote the Mandarin. So that's I think that's pretty good, encompassing of what the Mandarin and the Ten Rings network, quote unquote, could offer the supervillainly world.
All right, so now tell me about the last time we saw Bane at the movies, Tom Hardy's portrayal in The Dark Knight Rises.
Yes, you're dealing with Bane. Because a voice like this, he's Bane, he feels pain. If you take the mask off, he's in much pain. He's a quote-unquote tactician who knows all Bruce Wayne's secrets, mainly because the woman he loves, his master, Talia al Ghul of the League of Shadows, slept with Bruce Wayne, has all access to his equipment, and they take tumblers and they take his weapons and they take pretty much everything from him, including the company, his city. He takes his back from him. He supposedly he's just a normal guy who was attacked, and he has to wear this breathing apparatus that it's like an anesthetic. So it's just an anesthetic. But he is shown in The Dark Knight Rises to punch through a concrete pillar, which if you're on Venom, which in the comics he normally is, you'll be able to do. But according to this is a realistic movie. It's a Michael Mann approach of Batman, but with Nolan helming the Batman trilogy, his Bat trilogy, the Dark Knight trilogy, is basically Michael Mann's Batman in a way. Poor man's Michael Mann, but that's the truth. He doesn't have any known strength. He apparently will torture people. He's devious. He's motivated with the League of Shadows terrorist network, as it were. They're economic, but they also that's the thing. They're mainly economic. You don't see them doing too many combat. They have combat training in the Alps and not the Alps. I guess it would be the Himalayas, which I think is supposed to be Nanda Parbat, but they never really said. But with these supposedly ninjas, they are easily taken down. There's not many of them. They haven't shown to have this organized military force. They have, they mainly use criminals. They align themselves with criminals or corruptible people, and you only have their big guy Bane. He answers to Talia, and that's about it. He really don't. He picks up Batman, who's maybe 180 pounds, soaking wet with armor on, and then does like a little bounce off his knee, like, "Oop, your back is broken. There you go." and that's it. That's all he really powerful does besides punching that concrete pillar. So if I had to choose right now, which I don't know if you're asking me to choose now.
Well, I was
gun?
just going to summarize, and
All right, go ahead.
correct me if I'm wrong. You're saying you've got both completely human leaders of ruthless terrorist networks that collectively have successfully taken down Iron Man and Batman. Is that right?
Yeah, it's like it's coming in pretty correctly. Yeah, because you got that. You have these guys that brought down, the characters in the third movies. Brought them to their lowest point. Each one of them did bring them down. Yes,
right.
But it really isn't fair considering between Iron Man 2 and 3 there was an Avengers movie, whereas between Dark Knight and The Dark Knight Rises, Batman just quit being Batman. So he was only Batman for like a year and a half, and he quit, became an old man, and his body started falling apart. So, it gets a little iffy with who was easier to defeat, the old grumpy Howard Hughes-like man, and the guy that was just coming over, battling evil alien forces, and a god from Asgard to save the world. So one guy's exhausted, and another guy that just gave up for 8 years. Right. I think the guy to give up 8 years, and also that doesn't have a mechanical suit that can shoot laser beams, is especially the grounded, realistic, the gritty version is not going to stand up to.
So wait, are you saying to me that the Mandarin and associated forces can take down Bane in the League of Shadows?
Easily. Wow. Set the stage.
Yep.
You got Gotham City, bridges are blown out, cops are underground, criminals are running the streets. You got tumblers, you got a nuclear bomb truck. Let's say Mandarin and his forces show up, start broadcasting, doing the whole Gotham. Your city is now under the control of terrorists calling themselves the League of Shadows. I don't think you deserve to have this kind of criminal scum in your city, or something like that. Right. And then boom, there you go. You got the Mandarin's army financed by Killian. You have the extremist soldiers coming in. Yeah, machine guns against a guy that can melt bullets with the flame arms, that can regenerate from these wounds, that could, you got a nuclear bomb? Guess what? You got a bunch of nuclear bombs walking around the city as extremist soldiers. So you know what? Yes, I slept with him. I could have killed him in his sleep, but no, I let him lay with me so I could get his secrets and have the last laugh. Ha ha, and twist the knife slowly. I got to give it to the Mandarin. I can't stand by and watch Bane and the puppy dog, the lost puppy dog, with, he saved me from these bad men, so I owe him, and my father would not recognize him, but I hated my father, but you killed him, so now I got to kill you. It's like one of the, I cannot let the extremist soldiers lose to a reconfigured version of The World Is Not Enough, because that's basically The World Is Not Enough, which is The Dark Knight Rises, is just the same script as The World Is Not Enough. A guy that got shot in the head, he was a supposed kidnapper or whatever of the Isabella Ciora or whatever, but turns out he don't feel no pain because he's the bad guy.
So by extension, you're saying that Lethal Weapon 3 is better than The World Is Not Enough?
Lethal Weapon 2, you mean? Lethal Weapon 2, right?
No, isn't Lethal Weapon 3 more like Iron Man 3?
Well, the video I saw said Lethal Weapon 2 is like Iron Man 3.
Oh, of course. Sorry. Yep.
But yeah, that right there, where it's after, Riggs has lost the woman of his life. He's living in a trailer. Place is attacked by helicopters. You got the bad guy who's got the immunity and everything like that, which is like Killian. There's the encounter at the port, just like in the movie. So that was Iron Man 2. Iron Man 3 is like Lethal Weapon 2.
Yep.
So Lethal Weapon 2 is better than The World Is Not Enough. Yes, I will say that. A sequel is better than the 22nd sequel. Uh,
Fair
which
enough.
and that was like that was actually the last half decent Brosnan Bond, because after that we got the Die Another Day with Halle Berry, and a bad sign, even though I love him, it's a bad sign when you have Michael Madsen playing the President of the United States.
True.
That's a bad sign.
True. He should only play scumbags in films.
Exactly. Or
scientist adventurers like in Species.
oh my god, he was in Species as a scientist.
Well,
with Ben Kingsley. With Ben Kingsley. There you go. Tying it all back together.
Link. All right. So let me just summarize. You're saying that the Mandarin and associated forces would easily take out Bane and associated forces were they to fight. Anyone listening to this, if you have an opinion that differs or even complements Larry's, please let us know. What's the best way to let us know, Larry?
At Antonio Sanciolo on Twitter.
Spot on.
And mine at Larry King Undead, because I was trying to be clever and funny, which I thought I was. So I think
kind
I am.
of is.
So you could find us both there and send hate or love our way. We'll take love any day. We'll take hate too. Hate does feed us. It powers the dark side. So there you go.
It's good. It's good. Every light side needs a dark side. So we share the role. We share the role. But for mine, I think purely on the sake of whose voice is more fun to do, it's much easier to talk like the Mandarin. You'll never see me coming. It's just so much more fun to do than...
good, man. That's really good. I'm not joking.
Much more fun to do than... what does he say? He goes... I was wondering what would make fast. Your butter or your sweat. It just kills me.
You're killing me, man.
I might even affect that Bane attempt just so it sounds really on top and outside of the sound mix, much like the rest of The Dark Knight Rises.
You fit that so well because when you actually gave me the idea to when I do the voice, I'll actually grab if I had like a jacket, you know how he does in the movie. I was like, yes, Batman. I came up with this while watching the movie. While I was watching the theater, I'm laughing. This is the midnight showing because I went into it. I was like, okay, maybe this movie be good. But I'm watching it and I came up with, would you like a cookie, Batman? That's the same equivalent. It's like, you got no cookies? We're the League of Shadows. We don't give you cookies. We give you bombs and broken bridges and soldiers refusing to let kids in. Why all the cops go underground? Because we got bad writing. It's just, that movie, oh my God. It's so bad.
Yeah. Anyway, let's move on. So,
Sure
I'd
thing.
like to look at Bane and the Mandarin as they were at the height of their comic book representations. You've got Bane, a mercenary from South America, powered by the dangerous yet powerful substance called venom. And then you've got Mandarin, who is a mystical warlord powered by intelligent alien jewelry. Tell me about them.
Okay, I want to go with Bane first. I did Mandarin last time. Let's go with Bane. Yes, Antonio. I was born in the Santa Prisica. I was punished for my father's crimes. I was not given a name, but Bane. They put me in a cell. The cell would rise with water. I had to learn to swim, to grab fish, to eat fish raw. I was taught by Trog, Zombie, and I cannot remember the third person. But yeah, he was taught by these three criminal masterminds. He was afraid of bats. He's basically a boy on the inside, a little boy that had to grow up hard. And Trog, Bird, and Zombie. There you go. That was the three. They're 60s rock bands.
Yep.
And he was trained by these three guys to they looked after him. And I'm thinking, this is like nowadays they're like, oh, see, they were going to they used him as sexually or something like that. People would do that nowadays, but they didn't even bring that up. So why did I have to? Oh, good Lord, I gave them ideas. But He's like a little boy on the inside, even though he was tough and brutal. He was afraid of bats. And so when he grew up, he eventually wanted to break the bat because he'd have nightmares of Batman. And eventually, if he broke him, he would be free of these nightmares. Now, Venom is a drug that was introduced in the Batman arc where Batman he needed to be stronger because he wasn't able to lift some stuff. So he took Venom in the pill form. He got addicted to it, and he got out of being addicted to it. So eventually, it gets turned into a liquid form, is tested on Bane. So Bane supposedly dies, but he doesn't. He fakes his death. He escapes, takes Trogbird and Zombie with him, eventually goes to Gotham, breaks out. He comes with the plan to break out the prisoners of Arkham. Batman runs them down for basically a month straight, every single night, getting everybody from Gotham, Arkham Asylum, going running throughout Gotham. Eventually, after like a month, Bane, who knows that Bruce Wayne is Batman because I guess he's not stupid, he figures out the one guy with all the technology and everything like that, tracks him down, goes, and I love this sequence in the comic. Batman's just haggard, scruffy, Bane breaks in, chases him down into the Batcave, picks him up, breaks his back. It's, savored. And then what does Bane do? Bane takes his mask off from time to time. He isn't all about my mask. He takes it off every now and then while he's by himself. He contemplates. He's like, okay, I've done this amazing feat. What do I do next? Oh, yeah, he throws back. Goes to Gotham's equivalent to Times Square. Take your hero. He's now broken, and throws him into Times Square, which is amazing. But even with even Trogbird and Zombie and, some underlings that he picks up while in Gotham, he only has a 3-man team that he can trust. Plus, like, whatever goons he can pick up on the side, like ones that are not really loyal to Penguin or Joker or Two-Face or whoever. So you got a bunch of scragglers, probably B&Es, a little robbery here and there, strong arm robbery or armed robbery. So you're not, dealing with a tough force. But with Venom and his allegiances aren't much. He did eventually start teaming up with Talia and the League of Assassins, but that's not really a strong relationship. And I ain't gonna even bother mentioning the Secret Six. But when you're dealing with Mandarin, basically Fu Manchu, green Fu Manchu with the 10 magic rings, everything from fire, wind, ice, everything you could think of. And it's like, like a lesser form of, like, say, the Infinity Gauntlet.
Right.
And then you have, he had I believe the aliens that gave him the power, I think, like the brothers of Fing Fang Foom or something, if I'm not mistaken. So you have but he had really, I can't remember the Mandarin ever actually have. You might be able to more knowledge about me than me on the Mandarin, but I don't really think he had like an army or anything. He was more solo. They gave the idea of the 10 Rings organization was something that was introduced in the Iron Man movie. That's what I thought, unless I'm wrong.
He's been associated with various power bases, declaring himself ruler of various Asian and Chinese groups and nationalities. He's amassed a horde of followers. The most recent portrayal in the Fraction Iron Man universe, definitely had him as a very prominent underground leader in China. So a whole lot of forces at his beck and call, and a lot of construction groups as well. He's secretly got his fingers in all the pies. Only ring deep, of course.
Yes.
So yeah, very funny. Yeah. Why do you think they could do neither of those versions any honor or justice in the films of Bane or Mandarin?
Well, Bane would have been the best. I mean, that's something easily they could have done. I mean, Tom Hardy, I'd actually seen the movie Bronson before, and in Bronson, he basically plays Bane. And Bronson is about this guy that gets locked up. He's this kind of celebrity in the UK. And it's a Nicholas Winding Refn movie. And in it, he's this bald guy who's crazy, who has his own code of ethics. He's a criminal, but he has his own code of ethics. And I just think about Bane. Bane has ethics, believe it or not. And that idea, like, there wasn't a Hispanic actor or somebody from this, South America, Central America, they could have cast as Bane. They had to cast a really pasty white guy. So, and they had to give that silly accent with the respirator as well, which you can only see his eyes, and it makes him scarier. It looks like teeth. But Bane in the comics takes his mask off. The mask they gave him in the Arkham games they did him justice in the Arkham games, even though he's a little too bulky and maybe not the smartest he's been. But well, except to Arkham Origins, where he was spot on in Arkham Origins till the very end. But with the Mandarin, I think the problem with the Bane was they, of course, Nolan had his vision, and his vision was like, oh, I'm changing the characters to suit my own purposes. We need like the puppy dog character. We need the guy that seems like the really big bad guy, but he's really just the muscle. Just like what they did with Bane in the Batman and Robin movie by Schumacher. But with Mandarin, doing the idea of this, even if they don't do him green, but the long fingernails and the rings, that could have been done great. Like what was done with David Lopan in Big Trouble in Little China. That would be, if they had portrayed the Mandarin as that would have been perfect, because that's basically the Mandarin.
I always thought the same thing. Yeah, I agree with you 100%.
So if they could do it there, where, they're being stereotypical. But are you trying to say that there aren't old Chinese guys that love women with green eyes and have like magical powers and have crazy laughs, and they turn into 1,000-year-old demons?
I thought that was all old Chinese guys.
Yeah, I thought that was all Chinese. You see, exactly. But no, but they could do it. I mean, that's been done before. And even if they don't want to go the whole that fake trailer that was in the Grindhouse movie, Nicolas Cage is Dr. Fu Manchu, wah, whatever. They don't have to go that route, but they can go something more along the lines like, okay, Iron Man, maybe Tony Stark wouldn't believe, he has these magic rings from space. It's just science, and it figures a way around hacking or blocking the quote unquote the magic behind it. I mean, that's my 2 cents on that aspect. Like, we call it magic because you don't understand it. You don't know how to comprehend it. Same thing with like taking a lighter back to a caveman. Ooh, magic. Shh.
Yeah, well, look, Mandarin also is a technological genius in the comics, so that's something that can't be overlooked. To rival Tony Stark, in fact, I think he originally built the Ultimo robot or android that was Iron Man's rival several times, until someone in the modern comics world retconned him as only reprogramming Ultimo. But that being said, he's built several various death rays and satellites and a whole bunch of other things that rival Tony Stark's intellect. So I don't think that can be discredited as one of his powers either.
Yeah, I mean, I get that. I mean, to have that intellect, to have that knowledge, that ability to use it and actually fight his nemesis with that power, I mean, it's something really good. But after Iron Man 3 came out, and a person I know and a person I like quite a lot, it's like, they ruined the Mandarin. I'm like, he was such a great character. I'm like, even I, who've read a lot of comics, I know this person's read comics too, but nowhere near as many as me. I guarantee not a single person, besides that, you say that Fraction run, but you can't name a specific arc where there was a great Mandarin story. I don't think one exists.
He's a heel. He's pretty much a textbook heel. He'll never really beat Iron Man in the comic verse, and he'll always come out on bottom because he's a heel. Whereas Bane was something different. Bane was something introduced in comics at the time as a deliberate attempt to sort of really change the status quo.
But the thing about it is,
sorry, go on.
Oh no! Even though he was, like you said, to change the status quo, he was there. He was created specifically to break the bat. Even though that was the case, after reading Nightfall, everybody much in some circles in comic, especially the local comic shops around where I live, it was much maligned. Bane or whatever. But after reading Nightfall, and he was like, it's like that idea of if a dog chases a car, what happens after he catches that car? Nothing happens. After Bane breaks the bat's back, what happens? He's like, I've done what I achieved my life goal. Well, I guess I could just be the crime boss of Gotham now. He's got to settle for second best. And then Azrael comes along, Asbats, John Paul Valley.
So this is not the only time DC Comics has created a villain or a person to specifically take out one of their mainstay heroes. I mean, they did this before with the Doomsday, of course. Well, actually, it was later, wasn't it, with Doomsday?
No, it might have actually been before, because 93 is when Doomsday came out, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, right.
So,
Okay. So yeah, it happened. So they did this again then with Doomsday. Is this something Marvel have done? Have they ever created someone purely for the sake of wiping one of their major players off the table for an albeit temporary period?
Not that I can think of. They always use their own, in-house characters. I mean, you had you had Tony's own alcoholism take him out of the game and have Rhodey go in as Iron Man for a while, and that even happened during Secret Wars. So yeah, so I mean, as far as creating, the big bad out of the blue to sideline our hero for a bit, whether it be a healing coma or a broken back, or but even, like I said, even with that, Iron Man, I don't think ever really got sidelined by, well, maybe in that Fraction run, which most modern Marvel runs I don't necessarily count because I haven't read them. I have like call it a Marvel, I guess you say ban or boycott. So when it comes to that, I don't really know if the Mandarin or anybody else really has ever sidelined any of their, Magneto. I don't even think Magneto ever really sidelined anybody. Legion did. He sidelined Professor X for a while, but we got Agent of Apocalypse.
I'm thinking that there was that extreme X-Men run where they brought in that Varga character who pretty much killed Hank McCoy for a brief period of time. It was Sabretooth that wiped Psylocke off the map
for a bit before she got the Sub-Zero of Mortal Kombat 3 little eye brand.
Yep.
Yeah. She turned in.
I forgot who killed Cap. It was Sharon under the influence of someone, wasn't it? Or
Dr. Druid, not Dr. Druid. The guy they introduced recently in that Agent Carter miniseries. Not Dr. Druid. Oh boy, what is his name? It was one of Strucker's guys, Von Strucker's guys, and along with Zola. Zola was a part of it too.
Oh, okay.
And but I mean, even that. Let's see. Oh, Doc Ock wiped Spider-Man out for a while under Slott. Let's see.
You've got Onslaught.
Scarlet Witch wiped out pretty much half the Avengers.
Onslaught, Scarlet Witch. All the big people are just permutations of earlier incarnations of people.
Exactly. And they just use whatever's in house. They never really went, mystery hero. It's like having a Sentry come in and kill half the Marvel universe.
Well, I imagine maybe this is what it would have felt like in the early 80s or mid 80s when Apocalypse was brought in.
True. I didn't think of that because Apocalypse come in, but even then, he really did. I mean, he just recruited people. He recruited Caliban and Skids and Rusty or whatever. That's about it. True. I mean, as far as I don't really think he ever really, not until, and even during Age of Apocalypse, he never really. I mean, that was an alternate timeline, so I guess that doesn't count. But he killed a bunch of people then, but he just my plans. Yeah, it's like planning all the time. It's like always the bridesmaid, never the bride. There you go. He's like, he never gets the chance to actually use these villainous plans to take over the world. And there's always an alternate timeline or distant and a far off future, but it never like currently in the day and date.
Fair enough. Anyway, this has been a lovely digression. Heading back to the topic, you've got at their power's fullest Iron Man villain Mandarin versus Bane. Who would win?
I'm going Mandarin. I have to go Mandarin again because this Mandarin, because I remember reading that story where the Mandarin was in communication, somewhat friendly communication with Fin Fang Foom, and also he's got, like you said, he's got the network, he's got the resources, he's got the connections, and unlike Bane, he has power. He has true power with the rings. Now, Bane does have venom, but with a simple battering, you can cut a venom line. Boom, there you go. Bye-bye venom. He goes in a withdrawal state. And he's just a beefed up guy. He can't shoot fire. He can't shoot lightning. He doesn't have alien power rings. So I'm going to have to go Mandarin. What do you say?
Look, I'm not too sure. Even considering his tactical advantage that he apparently has, Bane, leading an army of men into the Mandarin's compound and disabling every one of the Mandarin's forces one by one. Like you, I don't think when it actually came to Mandarin versus Bane, head to head, if it came to that, if Bane actually let it come to that, that Bane would actually win. I'd like to think, though, that Bane would possibly forego a face-to-face confrontation and have him taken out by other means, because he is a tactician first. I mean, he does have a code of honor.
You just made me think of something. Mm-hmm. Okay, Bane has money, mercenary. He's a mercenary, right?
That's right.
He would get other mercenaries. He'd send in Deathstroke. He'd send in Lady Shiva or Shiva. He'd send in, Cheshire. He would send in all these mercenaries. He'd probably even hire Hive or somebody to go in there and do some grunt work, be the cannon fodder, burn down Mandarin's forces. Maybe even hire somebody that's telekinetic or something, or psychic, or somebody who does like some type of sneak attack, or hire some. You're talking about the outer DC universe, even what pre New 52. He could probably hire somebody from maybe if he had the money or the ability, he'd probably get in touch with Lobo and have Lobo come pay Mandarin a visit. You're right. You know what?
That's a good cut there. Nice.
Yeah, he's cut. You come in there, a little space hog, flattens Mandarin. He's like, what I do?
Yeah, it's not a podcast about comics until there's a Lobo reference. So well done. We can pop there that bottle of champagne.
Yeah. But I think that could be the case, because the DC universe is. This is a little digression, but after Marvel uses Thanos in their movies, that's really all they got. They got nobody else that's really that powerful. I mean, they have, but if DC used, Darkseid, they still got Brainiac, they still got Mordred, they still got the evil forces of Apocalypse, the female Furies, they got all this and that.
Yep.
You have Rand, you have Thanagar, you have the, Anti-Monitor. You have a bunch of other options with DC. Same thing with the bad guys. So, and also mercenaries and everything like that. So it leaves things much more in open interpretation. Hell, Bane from Earth 3 or whatever could show up or something. I don't know. Anything could be possible. He could, perfect. Somehow he gets hands on the Phantom Zone projector and projects, one of the Phantom Zone criminals is basically a Kryptonian out to kick some Mandarin ass, or he traps the Mandarin in the Phantom Zone. There you go.
Possibly.
He don't want to fight. He just traps them in the Phantom Zone.
But look, what I actually think would play out is this. I think Bane would use his tactical ability and military forces to disable Mandarin's troops and engage Mandarin one-on-one, whereby using trickery, deception, or perhaps some kind of other DC-based technology, as you've mentioned, he is able to disarm the Mandarin of his rings. And this is what leads me to the final part of my questioning. Because I think, faced with a disarmed Mandarin, he would disconnect his own venom supply and fight unpowered to prove that he really is the superior, as only Bane can do. So, now we're discussing that final question. In an unpowered fight between Mandarin and Bane, Larry, time to prove yourself. Who would win?
Chinese businessman versus guy raised in a hellish prison where he was being drowned on a nightly basis. I'm going to go with the guy that was in prison. I'm going to go with, it's basically Oz versus House of Cards. I'm going to go with the guy from Oz. There you go.
I think I'd like you to rethink that, only keeping in mind that Mandarin is
martial arts.
A very skilled and mystically endowed martial artist. And you've seen several times in the comics where he's been doing the whole, punching hard surfaces and callousing up his body. And
you just made me think of something. Bane has a code, and I said it earlier, Bane has a code of ethics. He would fight fair.
Yes.
Even though he's a criminal, but he's still got that mind of a child in some ways. He carries a teddy bear around, for God's sakes. And he's like a 30-year-old guy.
Yep.
He would fight fair. Mandarin would cheat. I think, even I regrettably do it, but I'd have to give it to the Mandarin.
Because we've seen Mandarin punch through Iron Man's armor. We've seen him go without food and water for extended periods, surviving off his chi. So, and based on the retcon you're looking at, we've seen him with almost superhuman martial arts abilities. So it is an interesting one to look at. I mean, you've got to look at the legacy of Venom in Bane's system, whether that has endowed him with at least a higher base level of physical strength and stamina, whether that's going to help him. Like you said, he's got a code of honor, but the minute that Mandarin breaks the rules, I can't help but think Bane would use that as an invitation to use some prison tactics and maybe shiv the guy. I don't know. Keeping that in mind, though, does that affect your outcome? How do you think the battle would go?
I honestly think, Bane is weaning off Venom, so he's going to be a little shaky. Mandarin, without his rings, let's say maybe with a few broken fingers, maybe can't hold a proper fist, but he really doesn't need to do like some slap fighting or some stuff. Some type of judo chops would have, flying kicks, as it were. Channel his chi into his hands, kind of a iron fistian way. Bane would go MMA route. He would take him down. Like, a man who cannot stand, cannot fight. Go Cobra Kai on him. And that's true. If you cannot stand, you cannot, traditionally you can't fight. You can be a ground game, wrestling and everything like that. And I'd probably give Bane that ability to bring Mandarin down to his level. If it's a stand-up fight, punches and kicks, Mandarin's probably going to have a better time at that than Bane. Even though Bane has more muscle mass, but if he gets a good chokehold on him, puts him in an arm bar, some type of leg lock or something, he'll probably break one of Mandarin's legs easily. Even though he has that chi and ability, I think that chi and ability to be more versatile, more dense, or more tough would eventually weaken out to a guy that's like 300 plus pounds, even because the Venom's coming out of his system, cracking his say femur in half, which is possible. So, man, it's tough. I mean, how do you see it going? I mean, I've seen it turn into like some MMA fight, but
I'm giving it purely to Bane only because he does more on a hand-to-hand basis every day. He's constantly testing himself, whilst Mandarin seems to pick and choose the times when he actually engages in physical conflict with someone else. So I'm going to give it to Bane just for the fact that physical conflict is his thing and he immerses himself in it recklessly and regularly. That's how I'd do it. What about you?
I'm going to have to give it to Bane. I'm going to have to because, like you said, Mandarin may have that physical strength that, and the magical, the ability to punch through metal, titanium and all this and that. But that's focus. That's like one act. He can focus on that. When you got a big guy, 300-pound dude who grew up in hell, basically, on top of you, beating the living shit out of you. Pardon my friend. Oh, man. Oh, well.
We might censor that and keep the G tag on.
But you have this guy on top of you. I think the guy that's known what it is to be in a fight, to know if you don't win this fight, you're dead.
Yeah.
Because this is before Venom. I think I'm gonna give that. He has a drive to him, even though he had already accomplished his goal, breaking the Bat's back. He still wants to live. He's not giving up. He's not dying. He's like, if Mandarin dies, he can come back easily. He's magic. Got some magic stuff floating around. Bane, barring a Lazarus pit, some type of retcon punching the walls of reality. I'm pretty sure he knows that if he's dead, if he dies, he dies. Ivan Drago, if he dies, he dies. There you go. That's all she wrote. So he's going to fight for his life. So,
okay, good. So
I think that's good.
To summarize for the listeners out there, we've got him in a movie match where we both agree Mandarin would come out on top. We've got him in a comic book match where they're at their highest power levels, and you are going for Mandarin, and I was going for Bane. And then we've got them at their depowered levels in a one-on-one fight, and I think we both said Bane was the victor. Does that sound about right?
Yeah, that sounds right. And I'm though, it is kind of hard to wrap your head around, considering both of them are like, though, quote unquote misrepresented in the media, and they got a bad rep. But with the way they were the way they're in the comics is not so cut and dry. But gonna give it to Bane. Got to give it to Bane in the last fight. Mano a mano, no venom, no power rings. It's gonna go to Bane. He's gonna put him in an armbar and smite the Mandarin.
Yep.
Make him his make him his plaything. There you go.
Well, look, I hope that we've really rattled some of you listening out there enough for you to let us know again what you think it should have happened, how you think it should have gone. You can reach me again on Twitter at Antonio Sancholo. We'll have these in the liner notes for the podcast, or Larry at Larry King Undead, at Larry King Undead. We do encourage you to get in touch, and we're always available to reach on Twitter. We would ask that you keep things civil, though, and as we will always try to do so when talking with you. The only other thing you may or may not know about the two of us is that we are, I guess you'd say, attempted
Life
comic
partners.
book artists.
Oh, I just say life partner. Oh,
Life partners.
Well, I'm so sorry. I see.
How are we going to break this
why
to
you
my
have
wife?
to tell me. I'm sorry, man. I'm so sorry, but you're gonna have to tell her soon.
Okay.
I think of myself as a person that is a hobby still, but I make comics. I have fun and I make comics.
Yeah. I consider myself a hobbyist as well, and I don't really make comics like Larry does, but I do a strip, and where I find the time just draw people I like to draw, like superheroes. So what I was going to suggest, Larry, was that we each have a go at drawing the Mandarin versus Bane. What do you think about that?
That could be quite fun.
Yeah.
That could be quite fun. Now, but which ones though?
Entirely,
there you go.
Entirely the artist's choice, and we'll post them up with the podcast.
I think that'd be fun. I think I could do that.
All right.
I'll get cracking on that.
I look forward to seeing what you do as always. We might tie it up there though. Well, thank you guys for listening into the first episode of the Ant King Frequency. This is Antonio Sancholo saying goodbye.
Goodbye.
Oh, you weren't going to say this is you saying goodbye?
Oh, well, I guess it is me saying goodbye now. Goodbye bye.
All right. Thanks, guys. See ya.
The Ant King Frequency is copyright 2015 by White Tiger Graphics.